This week's show brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint. Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars. Welcome, everybody, to Week 9 of the News Graphics, Scott County Cardinals Football Coaches Show. I'm Cal Oakes, and we'll get to Coach Jim McKee shortly. We always start the show with a look back at last week, and last week was a much-anticipated game in this area, in this part of the state, in Class 6A, between Scott County and the new school from Lexington, Frederick Douglass. And it was the back-and-forth battle that some people expected, at least for the first quarter and a half. At one point, 7-7, 14-14, then 28-21. And then finally, Scott County pitches a shutout in the second half and really pulled away at the end of the first half with a couple of touchdowns for a 55-21 win. And that makes them district champions for the 8th consecutive year, the 10th time in the past 11 seasons. And that's something that Coach McKee has told us, and will probably tell us again later, that they take as much pride in that as anything. That sustained excellence, that continued excellence against the teams that you see on a yearly basis, the ones that consider you their rival, to go out and beat them as often as they have. The statistics are just crazy the past 11 years. I believe Scott County with only 2 losses in that time against district opponents at all, and they haven't had one since 2014. A lot of playmakers on the Frederick Douglass side that made themselves known early in that game. Long kick return, a couple of long passes. But Glenn Covington really stepped up for Scott County. He had a couple of, actually had 2 fumble recoveries in the game and an interception. The interception led to a Scott County touchdown. The fumble recovery, one of them, essentially stopped a Frederick Douglass scoring drive. And then the third one kind of defies explanation. It was actually the first one in the sequence. Peyton Brown had a long run where he fumbled at the end. The ball got stripped. It bounced right at Glenn's feet. He picked it up and ran the final 39 yards into the end zone. It's quite a play. He'll talk about that play a little bit later on in the show. We also talked to Brian Hudson this week. But looking forward to this week, it's Paul Lawrence Dunbar. And on paper, as they say, if football games were played on paper, we might not have to go play this one. But we know that doesn't happen. Dunbar's 0-7. They've really struggled. They've lost 5 of those games by shutout. They scored last week against Henry Clay, but it was a 48-6 loss. Just a young team, second-year coach. It's a team that Scott County hung 73 points on last year. Really, Dunbar has only sustained momentum in that game was on a fake punt, and allowed them to kind of keep it close for a quarter. Doesn't look like it's going to be much of a contest in the final district game. I know it's been a pretty relaxed week in the Scott County camp. They had a couple extra days off, Monday and Tuesday, to kind of get the wounds healed up a little bit. As Coach McKee will talk about later in the show, they played 8 games in a row, a couple of serious opponents in there with the Ohio teams, and obviously an emotional, physical game against Douglass. He wanted everybody to have a chance to kind of refocus, relax, reload, and get some treatment for some nagging injuries. Nobody at this point, knock on wood, seriously hurt, and things have really come together in the past few games. Offensively, Scott County's clicking like I haven't seen them in 2 years. I did a little research the other day against Kentucky opponents. They've had 56 full drives, and they've scored on 48 of them, 47 touchdowns and 1 field goal. So they have not been stopped very often. The other night, they weren't stopped in the first half at all against Douglass. The week before that, similar situation against Henry Clay. So I guess say some prayers for Dunbar Friday night. But also, from the Scott County perspective, you don't want to get anybody hurt. This is the time of year where you just want to get in, get out, get healthy, stay healthy, get it to a running clock quickly, and then move on with your life. They got a big game in Louisville next Friday night against Pleasure Ridge Park. And then the playoffs happen. And that's all going to go through Toyota Stadium, at least the first 3 games. That was settled with the district title. You're going to have some potential opponents such as Clark County, who used to be a regular season opponent and kind of begged out of it. There's a chance they may play them in round 1. And we probably will be seeing Frederick Douglass and Lafayette again as we go down at least one or the other, if not both, as we work down that road. But that is in November. For now, we've got to talk a little bit about last week's game and a little bit about the coming game against Dunbar. And first, we'll do that with Coach Jim McKee. Let's see what Coach McKee had to say. Scott County earned its 8th consecutive district title in convincing fashion against Frederick Douglass.
It makes you feel good to to feel like that the process, the plan that you put together somewhat came together. And that, you know, we played a pre-district schedule that we felt like would be very challenging. Sometimes when you do that and you lose a couple of your key guys, you're like, oh man, now you don't have you know, but we were able to get through that with the majority of our key people healthy and played very well. And I thought progressively played better each district game, and played our best game that we played during the district the other night, and now we're district champs. I look back and just looked at some statistics which are impressive for what the kids and the coaches and the community and everybody associated with our program has been able to accomplish. In the last 11 years, we're 32-2 in district football games. So that's pretty good.
Coach McKee is pleased with the development of the Cardinals' offense.
I looked up this week against Kentucky opponents. You guys had 56 drives this year, and you scored 48 times. 47.
That's good. I didn't realize that.
I mean, that's got to.
I know a couple times I got us stopped. You know, a couple times I absolutely got us stopped by some terrible play calling, and then a couple times we also just had a dynamic athlete that scored for us. So it really didn't have anything to do with the play calling or the scheme. It was a talented guy that can make somebody miss. What did you say? 48 out of 56.
47
that's impressive.
touchdowns, 1 field goal.
That's very impressive.
The Cards have made fewer self-inflicted mistakes in recent games, but there is still room for improvement.
Knock on wood, you know, I mean, and here's the thing, we're going to inflict some more pain on ourselves because it's just impossible not to. How do we respond from that will be the key. Just like the other night, I mean, you know, I'm not happy that we gave up a kickoff return. That's no good. I mean, we've got to be able to cover kicks. But we did give up one, and we didn't panic, and it didn't knock us off our game plan. And then we get, you know, you're going to give up a long pass or two. It's just impossible not to. We gave up a long post route. That didn't knock us off our game plan. I thought our kids really hung in there consistently throughout the game and followed the game plan well and played really well. And I was really pleased with the crowd with it being fall break. We had an awesome crowd.
Brian Hudson has impressed McKee with his dominant play as a two-way lineman.
Yeah, it really does, especially from the standpoint that, you know, we don't practice that way, we don't condition that way, and it becomes a little bit more challenging for them. I mean, if you've got 5 or 6, 7 guys going both ways in a football game, your conditioning is going to reflect that. I don't like to just line kids up and just run them. I didn't like doing that. They don't like doing it, and I'm not sure exactly what it accomplishes. But if you've got 6 or 7 guys going both ways, you almost have to. So it's really remarkable what they've done. The other thing, especially with Brian, not that he's done anything better, but just different than Glenn. You know, Brian's got all these big-time offers, and I've had kids before. Glenn doesn't have them yet. You know, Glenn's obviously a college football player or you know, basketball player or track athlete. He's something, whatever he chooses he wants to be. But I've had guys before that, you know, they get what they consider these offers, and then all of a sudden they want to back off a little bit and they start worrying about their college career. And, you know, Brian hadn't done that at all. He's never even blinked about wanting to play both ways and playing both ways.
Glenn Covington continues to make big plays on both sides of the ball.
He's the only guy back, and Glenn's playing great. You know, I'm not a statistics-driven guy, you know, because we can gain 451 yards in a game and turn it over 4 times and lose. But when I was looking at some stuff, I keep a little records watch. I sent some of it to you about kicking. You know, I think Glenn has caught 25 balls so far this year and caught 28 last year. So we're 8 games in, and he's already almost caught as many balls as he did last year. He caught 35 as a freshman. So knock on wood again, as long as he's healthy, by the end of the regular season, he should exceed his catch total of either one of the previous 2 seasons. And Josh has done great statistically too. Bryce, you know, Burke Watts is off the charts tackle-wise. Colin Dempster, I don't know if you, I think I sent you that link. He's 5th in the nation in PATs on Max Prep. So there's a lot to be proud of. Now, the key element to all that is you can't rest on your laurels.
A 4-day rest this week should help rejuvenate the Cards for a run at a state championship.
We had played 8 games in a row, And, several of those games had been very challenging. And we just felt like, as a staff, that the best thing our guys needed was some time away. So we gave them Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We gave them a 4-day break. Anybody that wasn't 100%, anybody that, had even a 1% limp or anything at all had to get treatment each one of those 4 days. And so, I thought we looked really fast on the field today. And I'm not knocking Dunbar, but we should win the game. If we don't, that's on us. It's a second-year coach. It's a program that has struggled. They have a good freshman team. I know the guy's building hard for the future, and he will, but we should win a football game.
Scott County has clinched home field advantage through the regional final.
Basically, the bottom line is for somebody to win the region other than us, they're going to have to beat us in Georgetown. And it can happen. Lafayette beat us in Georgetown in the regional finals in 2015, 35-30. So I'm not saying it can't happen, but from the familiarity of your home field, not having to travel, bottom line is, we've done what we set out to do, and we accomplished that step, and I'm proud of them for doing it. Also really proud of our freshman team. They went through some rocky starts at the beginning, have really come together, played 2 really good football games, beat Henry Clay this past Monday 40-12, and that was off beating Bryan Station 55-6 the Monday before. So, proud of them because, when you lose a couple games, it's easy. You hear all the boo birds and, you hear all that kind of stuff. Those guys are really hung in. Coach has done a great job, and they got a game with Dunbar Monday. So proud of them, and our JV's still undefeated. So real proud of them too.
All right, that was the coach, and he looks pretty relaxed this week, kind of giving some guys some time off, as he said, and it's, as he also said, no disrespect to Dunbar, but 6-2 versus 0-7, it's pretty apparent which way it should go. It's been 11 consecutive wins in that series for Scott County. Most of them haven't been close. This team has gained a lot of strength on its junior and sophomore classes. We've seen those younger kids get in the lineup more this year. Brian Hudson was a guy that was the only returning starter on the offensive line, but he has played on both sides of the ball and been a force. And Glenn Covington, another guy who has started both ways as a wide receiver and as a defensive back. We decided to talk to both those guys, juniors, and talk to them about answering that call this year. Let's see what Brian and Glenn had to say.
The Frederick Douglass win was Scott County's most impressive overall performance to date.
I was really just kind of focusing in, settling in the game. I feel like it was kind of a big game coming up with, with all the talk and everything of the, new school. So, I think just after settling in after that first quarter, we kind of just focused in, and then we were.
They got a lot of athletic people and a lot of fast people, and I knew they could, if they get away, that nobody was going to catch them. So I knew we had to contain them, and that's what we did.
Covington recovered 2 fumbles and made an interception against Frederick Douglass.
I felt like we needed a little spark, and I knew I had to go get it, so I did what I had to do. I baited him to go inside, and I just punched it.
Starting on both sides of the ball was a challenge Covington and Hudson both embrace.
I just love football, so I love being out on the field as much as possible, and it's just fun for me.
Oh, I love it. Kind of like Glenn said, I just love football. It's fun to be out there, participating. I personally, I just don't like to be, just sitting and watching. So, just being out there and helping the other guys, do what we need to do is really special, and it's fun.
Conditioning and hard work in the film room are keys for Scott County's two-way starters.
It's difficult, especially at the beginning of the season when it's hot. So it's definitely a lot of work, a lot of extra running, getting all the reps during practice, and really knowing what you have to do during the game so you don't miss anything.
It has been a relaxed atmosphere leading up to the Dunbar game.
Well, we just had our first practice of this week, so we haven't done really that much. We just gone over our plays and go over formations that they run, and that's it.
Oh, it's been great. It's kind of like a regrouping week. We're not going to take Dunbar lightly. Obviously, anything can happen, but they're a good football team, and we just need to come and, you know, keep clicking and not take a step back. You know, always take a step forward. So we just need to keep working.